Hello and welcome to the Construction Business Blueprint YouTube channel, the only YouTube channel for construction business owners to achieve more time, more profit and more control of their business and life. In today's session, we're going to talk about why January resolutions are dead by February. So in this video, I kind of want to answer one simple question, and it is that question: why do so many construction business owners in January start strong with all the best intentions and quietly fall off around this time of year? If you keep watching, you will recognize exactly where it happens, why you're not lazy, unmotivated or undisciplined. But some of the conversations may be uncomfortable, maybe a lot of looking inwards, and that's because it's accurate, okay? So everything we talk about here, it's not motivation, it's not fluff or whatever else, it's all to the point. So if you have a few questions about why my motivation fades around this time of the year so early on, why February exposes the cracks in the business again whenever you start off with such great intentions and again such great motivation and momentum, why it sort of seems to be the wheels falling off, and why those good intentions don't survive the reality. So as soon as problem starts coming in, life happens, problems occur, why things don't stick, and why most CBOs, construction business owners as we call them, end up back in the same loop early on in the year, every single year. One of the biggest points is that January, I would describe it as a feeling. Okay, January, there's a lot of emotion around January. You've got a clean slate, starting a new routine of gym memberships. You've got diaries are open, you're taking on new clients or you're starting new jobs off from the start. Hope is high, you're really optimistic. Optimism is booming and you're running a lot of adrenaline and everything else. Or maybe you're not. This is for those people who are. Sometimes you could be feeling like there is no motivation even starting January, and you're starting where we're talking about here now already a month ago. So that's a different conversation. January feels productive. It's like a false sense of security. January can feel productive even when nothing has changed, because it is a new year, starting fresh, different routines, different things like that. So give an example. You've got a nice shiny new notepad, you've downloaded the latest app or whatever it may be, you've made new promises to yourself, but it's the same diary, different calendar, different date on the calendar, but nothing really has changed, just to 2025, 2026. So the reason why motivation fades off is because of that. Motivation doesn't last very long. So January rewards intention. So if you're intentional about starting off, it'll happen. But February rewards structure, discipline, behaviors. That's where, time will start to take effect, and the motivation, the intention you have isn't enough to stand by anymore. So this is where the reality hits. Most construction business owners will recognize, the phone never stops. Staff issues are resurfacing again. Okay? Jobs are starting to run late again. Cash isn't landing when it said it was going to land. Still pricing at night. Still answering everything. So that's where, again, I say life happens. Okay, the business doesn't care about your goals. Okay, in February, the goals, the intentions, the business doesn't care, because the pressure comes back and it goes straight to default mode. Okay, so in January, it's not enough time. You're only back, you've skipped a week in January. So by the end of the last week in January and start of February, everything's sort of starting to default back to what it was the previous year. So let's talk about that default mode. Some defaults you'll fall back on. Again, you'll say to yourself, right, that's it. I'm not going back on the tools. This year's going to be the year I'm going back off the tools. That in itself isn't enough. You can't just decide to yourself, I'm not going to be on the tools anymore. What are you putting in place to replace yourself? What about your pricing? If you're, getting paid for being there by the hour, your client's expecting you, and all of a sudden you're not there anymore, have you increased your overhead? Have you set the business up to accommodate you taking a step back from the tools? You're starting to jump back on the tools just to help out. You've realized, okay, maybe the money's not there for me to actually do that. The business isn't set up for it. I have to go back into it again. Maybe you're, again, panicking over the volume of work you've got in. Again, I had Dan in this morning for a podcast. He's booked up to August, which is the norm for most of my clients. Some guys I'm speaking to are still going week to week, month to month. So you're saying, I'm not going to do that type of work anymore. I'm not going to be saying yes to that client anymore. That client rings and you start saying yes again because you're panicking. So again, saying yes to work that you promised, that's going back to default mode. Avoiding the hard conversation. So if you're saying, that's it, I'm drawing the line in the sand. Next year, I'm not taking these standards anymore. I'm not taking this guy doing this. I'm not taking this from the team. But then all of a sudden, you've avoided the hard conversation. You said, I'm going to go in, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to put the foot down, I'm going to do this. You haven't had the hard conversation. You've avoided it. you're busy, things happen. And then you go into, again, fixing problems. The default mode of just fixing problems and firefighting instead of actually getting to the source of the problem. So again, we had a great call on this last night inside the community on the Tuesday night call, all about, not just repairing an issue, but actually finding the cause. So getting to the root cause and preventing the issues going forward instead of just putting the band-aid or the plaster over the top of them. And then again, falling into that default of I'm too busy. Too busy, but not moving forward. Busy, busy, busy. Default mode isn't a failure, by the way. Okay, it's not a criticism. It's not me saying this. That is the norm. So I'm not saying here, singling anybody out or saying that shouldn't be happening. That, like I say, life. That's business. That's how it is. It's who the business actually trained you to be. So again, without putting stuff in place, the default mode is just a fail-safe and you fall back into it again. So we'll go deeper into sort of why that happens, right? Why the default mode kicks in, and it's because motivation in itself is not enough, okay? Motivation is fragile, habits are strong, and environment will always win, okay? So even if you've got good habits, bad habits, they will always overcome everything else. Motivation is only temporary. I'm sure you've heard many people saying that down a camera about motivation is temporary and it's not enough to pull things on. You don't rise to your intentions or motivation, okay? You actually fall to the level of your systems, your standards, but also your beliefs. So when you raise your standards, your behavior has to change in order to meet those standards and your beliefs, and then the results come after that. So there is a process there to follow. It's not enough just to say something or write it down in your goals or put it on your vision board or whatever it is you're going to do. Actions need to happen, behaviors need to change, things need to be put in place. And if you've never done that before, if you've never found out or whatever discovered how, then there's not a wonder you keep falling back into that. So it's not a failure on you. People beat themselves up at this time of the year. That doesn't get you anywhere either. Why motivation fails is because the diary's still the same. You're still dealing with the same people. You're still tolerating the same problems. You're still only got the same standards and beliefs. So it's not a wonder motivation quickly disintegrates and you're back to the same thing. So February doesn't kill the momentum or doesn't kill the motivation. February and time itself exposes what never changed. So that's where it exposes the intentions for what they are, and they're literally just intentions, thoughts or words on a page. Okay, so let's talk about what happens there, the quiet slip and how we slip back into those things. So it's never a big blow up. It's never any big dramatic moment or failure that happens. It's just small compromises of going back to, again, the safety net of jumping back on the tools, working for the same people, tolerating the same bullshit from clients and team. It's all the small compromises that gradually pull you and slip you quietly back into your comfort levels and everything you've done inside your construction business before. So, you find yourself saying the same old thing, I'll do it next week. When this job finishes, I'll actually pick that back up again. After things calm down, we'll start putting that in place. The things that you said you were going to do that maybe you did do in January, but you got busy and you stopped doing it, it fell by the wayside. So most people don't just give up. It's usually something that happens subconsciously. Again, it quietly creeps in. You just drift away from the habits, the behaviors, and the things that you actually need to order to keep those changes in place. What happens is time passes, months pass, weeks pass, and it's the same promises that you've told yourself, the same pressure that you've been exposed to throughout, and the same exhaustion that is the byproduct of slipping in and having that sort of quiet slip into things. And it's not a discipline problem. If discipline was the issue, January wouldn't work either. Okay, so construction business owners generally are disciplined. They show up every day. You work hard. That's no one's taking that away from you. But the issue usually isn't the effort that's put in. It is a lack of clear direction. There's no compelling reason. There's no plan. There's no identity shift. There's no one there to call you out on this is who you need to become or this is what you need to do in order to keep those changes there. Make that identity shift, change the beliefs and behaviours. If you move away from the plan, is anybody pulling you back to be accountable? Is anybody there to help you with the decisions that need to be made or the things that need to be changed or the challenges that's being thrown at you, the curveballs in order to navigate those? So you can't stay consistent with something that doesn't mean enough to you, or that doesn't have a plan, that you haven't been fully heavily invested in. So let's talk about the real question. So the real question isn't how do I stay consistent with things. The real question is, what am I actually doing this for? You need to really dig down deep and think, okay, what is the impact of me making these changes? What are the benefits going to be? What is it going to cost me? What is the opportunity cost, or what is the cost to my health, my time, my mental clarity, my family? What is the point in what you're making these changes for? So just saying you're going to do things is, I'm going to come off the tools. Why are you coming off the tools? Let's look at the bigger picture. Let's design that out. Like I always, like everything, I approach everything inside the blueprint with my clients is a founder first approach. Let's make it really personal. Let's attach a bit of emotion to it, not emotion in business, but emotion to the feeling or the behavior or whatever else, because it has to mean enough to you for it to stick. So there has to be almost pain behind every decision. There has to be a consequence of something not happening. What is the ripple effect of you not maintaining those standards, with you not maintaining those things? So without that answer, habits collapse, motivation fades, systems get ignored, and the standards will then begin to slip again. So you need that why in terms of what am I actually doing this for? What is the bigger picture? And what are those impacts having on me and in the business? February isn't the problem. Okay, it's just a different date on the calendar. It's the mirror. February is the mirror that's holding up to you and saying to you, like, what is this all for? In the next video, I will ask you one question that determines whether this year is different or just another repeat. So I'm going to attach emotion to it. I'm going to take you through the exact principles, the exact system that I use for my clients in order to attach feeling, emotion, everything that is needed beyond motivation in order to make habits and changes stick in business. So be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, and notifications on so you get the next episode in this series.